Hey there, Fellowship family. Welcome to your one-stop shop for all things church life. My name is Mark Francis. I'm your host for today. It's been a couple weeks since we've been able to chat with you guys, so I'm excited about coming at you today. We are on the heels of graduation season around town, on the heels of just the end of school year, and it made us think about fellowship students and how all the many things that go on with activities and ministries around here. We have had a lot of kids filter through this church over the years, and I have some people here with me that probably are tops on the list of experience of seeing kids filter through. And I have Barry and Suzanne Pearson here with us today. You guys are probably celebrities amongst the student crowd, right?
Is that a good kind of celebrity, or
I don't know. We'll fish that out today, I think. Yeah. Well, welcome. I'm excited about having you guys here because you've been involved in student ministry for what I hear 25 years.
Yeah, 25 years.
Is that accurate?
Working with the high schoolers and leading small groups.
Yeah. And here with our podcast of being fellowship family, we figured it makes sense to hear from some of the people who engage with our families and get kind of some of the stories and testimonies from you guys. From what I hear, you're thinking about taking a little bit of a break and just kind of say, okay, this is something that a season is over, and I figured it makes sense to fish out, okay, what has God done through you guys over these many years? So we want to celebrate you today. Is that okay?
Well, thank you. Yes. I mean, it feels odd, but we're certainly happy to talk about what God has done in this community for sure. It's amazing.
Yeah. And you are also the parents of kids yourself. Rattle off those kids' names for us.
Sure.
Do you know their names, or do
you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Do you know their ages?
There's Caleb.
Okay.
Yes. There's Jonah.
Okay, Jonah.
Silas.
Yep.
And Hallie.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's it. Got them.
Names, ages, and
I'll give you their names.
Caleb's 28, Jonah's 25.
Yeah.
Silas is 22, and Hallie is 18, turning 19 in August.
Yeah. And so when you guys started in youth ministry, I mean, we're talking some kids here, right?
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to ask about their ages, because you think about the time and place and where you guys were in life.
We first started in the spring of 99, the spring semester of 99. So that first year we didn't lead a small group, but just kind of helped out here and there. Uh-huh. So at that time, Caleb was turning 3 and Jonah was 6 months old when we started. He's 25. That's how I can always remember how many years it's been.
Because we started when he was a baby.
That's awesome.
And that was in the old space.
Right.
We started in the old space where youth was, where the admin.
And that was even pre-John Avery coming. Yeah. And you saw that cycle of, we'll get there. But I'm curious, Caleb being the oldest, people know him from sitting in this podcast booth and even now in the pulpit. Yeah. You guys must be proud parents seeing the cycle of generations to come. And we can talk good things about Caleb, but I'm also wanting for some stories as well, since he's not here. Yeah. What does that look like of being parents? So are people calling you the parents of Caleb?
Yes, or that is a shift. Like you mentioned the celebrity earlier. People used to know us as Barry and Suzanne, but now more and more we are Caleb's parents.
Yeah.
That shift
you're Caleb's mom.
Has happened, right? Yeah.
Caleb used to be our son, but now we are.
Now you're just the parents.
I see people or meet people, they're like, "Oh, you're Caleb's dad." And I was like, "Well, Caleb's my son."
Yeah. Oh. Whoa. This is intrusion.
Oh, no.
Intrusion.
You must have heard his name.
Who are these people?
We've got an intruder alert. Grab a microphone. Grab a microphone right there. Wow. So we can hear what's happening here.
This is unbelievable.
I don't know what's going on. We have an intruder of the firstborn.
What is this called when you get ambushed? This is ambush media?
This is ambush. It's an intervention, I think. Yeah.
Thanks for setting up my mic, dude. What were y'all talking about?
We were just talking about this transition of... we were Barry and Suzanne, and you were our son.
I should be on the frame.
And now it's more like you're Caleb, and we are your parents. Like people know us.
Yeah.
You get old.
You stole the celebrity right away from us.
Yeah, I wanted to be here to crash the podcast, so I got some deets from him on what this was like. But I'm here to participate. I'm not here to overwhelm.
Participate, overwhelm. Yes.
Yeah. So he was 2.5, going on 3 when we started.
We're dating you. Yeah. Love it.
Literally grew up on the hip of teenagers in the youth group went through the youth group and his several years where he was probably a pain to his leaders. We would
I know for a fact.
We would hear some things from Chris Ryder and some other people of like, yeah, you got to get that kid under control a little bit. But then going away to school and then to have him come back and, kind of take over the ministry. I mean, that's just mind blowing. Like, I don't think we ever could have imagined that, but it's just so cool.
Well, it speaks to you guys as parents and obviously your investment into teens and into the life of students and not just looking at your own family and grooming them, but it's looking at the life of our church. And that's what we want to talk about today, a little bit of just how you've seen students just involved and cycling through years at a time to then seeing them from potentially babies to through interacting with you in your house at small groups and youth ministry to then being launched. This whole prepare and deploy concept is right here in front of us. So I want to hear from you guys of what has that felt like over the years.
Yeah. Do you want to start with that?
Gosh, I mean, I feel like it's something that just was pretty organic for us. We always wanted to serve together in things. I mean, we had other different roles, I think, in the church that I did some helping in the nursery and some VBS and stuff like that, but we really always wanted to serve together as a couple. And then once we had kids, we wanted our kids to be able to serve and be with us. And I mean, we loved youth ministry for many, many reasons, but one of them was that we could bring the kids with us. We brought them along. They were there. They were there for all the small groups and large groups and retreats and everything like that. Every time we could bring them to something, we did, and it became something that everybody was involved in. I mean, I think they all would help plan games and it was a service opportunity for them too, even when they were young.
Can I jump in on that?
I was going to ask you a question. I'm
going to present you guys with something, and then I'll get out of your hair. This is your podcast, not mine. That's important.
But I've got a question for you though too. So,
but that's what's so interesting. Is like I don't know what it's like for them to not be in youth. Right, like it's been my entire life. One of my earliest memories is one of the students in this church. His name was John Solenberger. He hit me in the head with his guitar on accident in your basement when he was leading worship. So on accident. Maybe I deserved it. But I grew up thinking I had 60, 70 cousins. I thought it was everybody's experience. And so it was crazy for me to graduate through our youth group, go to college, and I would talk to people about youth group, and then I realized they did not have it like I did, and like our church does for so many of our kids. But yeah, it's a special time. I wanted to selfishly come see you and say, personally, I'm so proud of you guys and excited for you and glad you're not going anywhere. You're obviously still in my life, but the ministry is going to miss you. I want to present you with two things. I feel like I'm Jimmy Fallon here. I got to make sure people see this.
Not helping my plan to not cry.
This is for Barry Pearson. It's a customized disc golf disc with the church logo.
Awesome.
And the Instagram handle at BP Heavenbound. Yeah.
There's
you
a story
can follow
behind
him.
That, right?
He's a big disc golfer. So.
That is incredible. I love it.
And then for Suze, we framed the picture we took at the final youth group of 25 years. Man, I'm hoping the camera catches this. We'll fix it in post.
It'll be half blurry, but that's okay.
Anyway, wanted to get you guys a little something and stop by the podcast. But you said you had something for me before
I do have one question before you do part. What was it like from your perspective as a kid growing up, seeing your parents do this year in, year out?
Yeah, I could tell the local church was a priority. I grew up with even him switching jobs on occasion, and it was like no matter what would change in life, FBC mattered. It was part of the routine. So I grew up knowing and having to get used to the fact that whatever I'd be going through, whatever they'd be going through, whatever my siblings would be going through, the local church would be there, youth group would be there, and this house is not ours, it's the Lord's. I thought everybody's house was full of people on Wednesday night till I was 10, right? Like I thought it's what people did. And so my mind boggles to think that that's over. Like I'm sure you're asking them questions. I don't want to answer for them, but I don't know what this is going to be like. I don't think this is going to hit for me personally until September when the youth season starts. And I'm, spinning in a circle looking for Barry. And then I'm like, oh, that's right. He's at home. He's probably watching my kids. But who knows what's going to happen at that point. But, yeah, it meant a lot, man. And it was just their story is such a testament to faith, commitment to the local church, And when I start to see, and I still hear the amount of families that like, your dad's Barry, and he taught my dad when he was in small group, and it just cannot, you cannot get a proper grasp of like the impact they've had on the kingdom. So it's really cool to be a part of it. I'm blessed into the family I was born into, blessed to be a part of this church. And yeah, it's a blast, man.
There you go. Well, thank you, Caleb.
Thank you.
Yes. So sorry. Your first FBC podcast, and I crashed it. Isn't that so rude?
It's my second.
Yeah.
That's true. Barry's first. Let's be honest here. But all right, I love you all very much. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caleb.
You kids have fun.
Well, now we can talk more about Caleb when he's leaving us. But no, it's cool to see the generational just preparing and deploying kids into adults, and that's discipleship. And so we'll let you go back to that first question. Just over the years, just what has it felt like to kind of see kids grow up? Just like, I mean, you see your own kid grow up.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, from what Caleb's saying, hundreds of kids kind of view you as parents. You know, you're talking about your own family of kids in your own house, but then that can just exponentially be like, those are my kid here, my kid here. Now those kids are having kids.
Right.
Now Caleb has kid, and you truly are grandparents. So welcome to that club.
Thank you.
So just walk me through kind of that journey over the last 25 years.
Yeah, it was really amazing just to see how God was teaching us and how we connected with certain families. You know, we were in community groups all through this time as well. I think we started when they were mini churches. And then they were community groups and other things, or now they're community groups. But, you know, serving in youth ministry, maybe not everyone we were in community group was doing that, but we were sharing life together. And they had kids about our kids' age, so we were all sharing just life struggles together and praying for each other through that. And for us to kind of work through that transition when our kids moved into the ministry and their friends, and now we're just the parents of the friends, like Caleb's friends were just Caleb's parents, but then to see that transition into high school. And then I can't remember which year it was, but the first time we had a second generation kid, you know, the daughter of one of our youth kids come
Haley
through.
Budwash.
Yeah.
Heidi. She was Clark.
Heidi Clark. Yeah.
Her daughter.
Heidi Clark came in. Her
Haley
daughter was in youth
first,
group, and we were like, what?
Wow.
How did that happen? And then it's happened a couple times since then.
Yes,
but it's just amazing to see that family grow and everyone raising their kids together, but us just being in that youth ministry.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like we've been really blessed to be able to stay, I guess, motivated and relevant and just engaged with them, because when we started, we were only 7 or 8 years older than some of them. And now we are quite a bit older than all of them. I think I did the math. Our first group of 9th graders that went through turned 40 this year.
Wow. Yeah.
So, it's, you know, it's a big age range that we have. You know, we have aged a lot in that time, but it has stayed fun for us. It has stayed, I feel like, fruitful, and we have not felt burnt out or anything like that. Like, God has just been really kind in allowing us to still have a role in that. I mean, I think it's changed. You know, I think even just the way that the kids interact with us has changed a little bit as our ages have changed, and as they see us as their friends' parents
more of a parent level than a peer level.
A little bit, like those relationships change. And so, and I know we both have actually been really blessed with having younger leaders also coming alongside us and like co-leading with us and being able to kind of fill that gap a little bit, where maybe there's some things that they don't want to talk to us about as much, or at least not at first, but they'll talk to a younger leader, and then we can kind of move into those spaces. But also, to a large extent, we've been able to keep just doing what we do and have those relationships. And I say Barry, I stopped being cool a couple of years ago, but Barry will be cool. Barry will be cool forever.
Well, it helps that I still act like a teenager. I think that's part of the problem.
That's part of it.
I mean, for us, I think one of the things we've talked about over the years is this idea of, I was in 9th grade when I was saved. I was at a Young Life event. That's where I put my faith and trust in Christ. And so I relate so well to these kids, like where they are. And I still feel like that's where my life began. And so they're my peers a lot of times. And Suzanne is often wondering where her husband is instead of her fifth kid.
Age is just a mindset, right?
Right.
Yeah. But I think that's what has provided the longevity for you, and the lack of burnout is that obviously it's enjoyable. It's something that's fun. You enjoy hanging out with the teens. You are asking them questions and doing life with them, and they see you as somebody that they can confide in. And I think that's beneficial, and that's part of, I think, what discipleship is about, is relational discipleship. Yeah. That you're building relationships and building bridges. And here with students, which is probably one of the more challenging group of people, because they're always questioning things, right? And over 25 years, you've seen a lot of things. Pinpoint what you've seen generationally over those 25 years. What has changed and what has stayed the same with students? Going back 25 years ago, we're talking the year 2000 or so, right? Yeah. So that kind of that time frame to now where we are in 24, what's different about the culture, and then what's the same? Yeah,
one of the things that's different right off the bat is technology being at the fingertips of these kids, and instant gratification of whatever you want. If you don't have it right away, then go find it. They would just immediately, nowadays, kids can find whatever they want within seconds. And that's a big difference from when we started. Before, it was a lot more talking together and relational, spending time together. Doing activities outside of church even was a lot easier than it is these days, because a lot of kids, unfortunately, still live their life right here in the palm of their hand. And it's been a big change and a big struggle at times to how do you navigate social media. I remember we did a conference one year about MySpace. And
MySpace?
Yeah, MySpace.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
Right? Kind of the dangers of MySpace and what to look out for. And then it quickly evolved from avoiding social media to how do you navigate social media, because it's gonna be there. Everyone's gonna have it. So then how do you handle it in a God-honoring way became the struggle. Yeah.
What's been the same with students and kids that age?
I mean, I think a lot of the struggles are the same. They just manifest themselves in different ways. Yeah. I think the technology and the social media has affected the timeline. I think kids are exposed to and struggling with a lot of the same things, but it's happening earlier because of the access to technology. So, I mean, I think it's fair to say that we were seeing kids that were struggling with, sexuality or gender identity and things like that as early as when we started. But if they were struggling with those things, it wasn't until, maybe late high school or even after they left that we would start to hear some of that, wrestling going on. But now, I mean, there's kids coming in seventh grade that are already confronting some of those issues. So that has stayed the same. I think the other thing that has stayed the same is just that, it's one thing that Caleb says a lot is in student ministry is that these kids are not the future of the church, they're the present. They have so much to offer right now, know, and I was just thinking about that a minute or two ago when you were talking about, being a difficult age and, pouring into them. And they're difficult at times. Sometimes we say if you get 5 minutes of solid conversation, you're doing great, especially boys, no offense. But also, they have so much to offer. They're smart and they think about things. And, I'm blessed and encouraged by my girls all the time. And there's an honesty there too that I think sometimes we don't see with older generations, where there's an authenticity that is beautiful. And I think that's stayed consistent, and one of the reasons why it has stayed fun and engaging for us. And we've kind of made the joke from time to time that all of our friends are 16 years old.
That's okay.
Some older friends, but yeah, we see these friendships and they last into their adult years. And it's just because they're awesome people. They were awesome to be around when they were 16, and they're awesome to be around when they're 40. So
Caleb referenced Wednesday nights. Always something happens Wednesday nights. So walk us through, for those that don't understand the youth ministry and the programs, what did you guys really do? And obviously people are at your house. So walk us through what a typical youth program has looked like and where you guys have served.
Yeah, typically, we have a Sunday morning ministry for youth where there's Sunday school classes, high school and middle school classes. It's changed over the years what that looks like. Sometimes it's just seventh graders, sometimes just eighth graders, sometimes it's middle school combined. And then more recently, I think we've had kind of a 9th and 10th grade and then an 11th and 12th grade class, but I think the summer it's all going to be combined. And then on Wednesday nights, we do small groups. And over the years, that has changed too, because typically right now we do 2 Wednesdays a month are small groups. And those are usually 8 to 20 kids and 1 or 2 leaders get together. Some meet in homes like we have done over the years, and some meet at church. And then a couple Wednesdays, 2 Wednesdays a month, there's kind of a large group setting where we're here at church in a large group setting, teaching time, worship together. And then usually you try to break at the end of that night to get into small groups again, share prayer requests or whatever it is. So that Wednesday night has through the years always been some night where we're doing something with youth, for sure.
Yeah. And Suzanne, you mentioned my girls. So do you guys intentionally break out girls and guys and do things separately with them?
We do. Typically for small group, we do have everybody together for a game or an icebreaker, something like that, just fellowship time, and then split guys and girls for discussion. Although occasionally, depending on the topic, we'll keep everybody together. And we used to never do that.
Yeah.
And then we started that maybe just 4 or 5 years ago, like maybe every 4th or 5th one or something like that. We would stay together. And that's been awesome. Like just to watch them interact and encourage each other. We did that for our last small group and had all the seniors share guys and girls to the whole group. And man, it was incredible. It was so cool.
I'm sure you have dozens of stories, but I want to pin you down to kind of one of the top 1 or 2 memories over the years.
Funny stories or impactful stories?
Both. So let's start with the impactful ones. Okay. So share names can be mentioned or don't have to be, whichever you see fit. What have you seen God do in the life of a specific student while you were working with them?
Well, one of the things that comes to mind for me, and it's sort of generalized, and it's just this transition from kids living their parents' faith. They come to church because their parents make them come to church. And then what we see, it happens sometimes in middle school, but that's what we call on in high school is you got to start living your own faith. Like you can't know Jesus because your parents know Jesus, and so many times over the years, we've been blessed to share our life with someone and see them take those steps where, reading God's word becomes their habit and not their parents' habit. Coming to church to serve and be involved becomes their habit and not just because their parents are making them. And, over the years, we've been blessed to do certain mission trips, short-term missions trips, and those opportunities, like the team that God brings together for those trips, there's always just an amazing accomplishment that he is doing in someone's life. It's not just the people that we're going to serve, but even among our team, seeing the friendships that are formed and the memories that are made. It's just been unbelievable. Yeah.
Suzanne?
Yeah, I mean, I think like Barry said, just watching that transformation happen, we laugh a lot about 9th graders and when they come in and we have to take a deep breath.
The awkwardness of it all, right?
Sometimes like you just, stepping up to that next level. Yeah. And then by the time they leave as seniors, just watching that transition. I mean, I mean, other than maybe from a baby to a kindergartner, I don't know of another age range where you're going to see such a tremendous change and amount of growth. Just, I mean, physically and emotionally, but spiritually as well. And so that's always really cool. And, I know the statistic is so high for kids coming out of evangelical churches and leaving the church when they go out into the world. It's like 70% or something like that. It's really high. And I think about that sometimes because it doesn't feel like ours is that high. I hope that it's not that high. It's hard to gauge depending on how you measure it because we have kids that'll come 1 or 2 or 3 times. Yeah. But for the kids that are invested and that come regularly, that their parents have made it a priority and said, you're going to do this. You're part of the local body. You're the president of the church, not the future. You're going to be involved in this. I think our conversion rate or whatever the word is that I'm looking for, like we do see kids go on and do well. And particularly for me, I think it's so encouraging when I see kids that go on to their own ministry, either youth ministry or missions or, children's ministry or whatever. And I see those things happening, and that's probably, my favorite thing to see is that they are, because like Barry said, we both were saved as teenagers, and that's the reason why we started this. And then to see them turn around and pour back into other young people is like, how does it get better than that? One specific story I just wanted to share is prodigals. We've seen some prodigals over the years who have stepped away from their faith, but then have come back. And specifically, one young lady, and I won't mention her name, but she was away from the Lord for about 18 years. And she was very heavily involved in our group as a teenager. Probably in her senior year, we started to see some things of concern. She eventually walked away from the Lord completely and was living some tough consequences of that. And then it was just in the last several years that she came back to the Lord, and in ways that we were not involved in. But then she reached back out to me to let me know that this had taken place, and then just was able to, she just shared with us the things that we had said to her and experiences that she had in our youth group had stuck with her that whole time, which we just didn't know,
You're right. I mean, you do never know.
You never
Right.
know.
Right? I mean, of the seeds that are being planted and the modeling that you're doing,
Yeah.
verbal or not verbal, that people they're catching, they're watching,
Yeah. So
like
that-
your own
yeah.
kids. Yeah. And now you have dozens more that are watching. So
Yeah. So that was really cool because she was one of
Yeah.
our very early ones.
She was.
And then this
Yep.
reconnection just happened this year. And so it just felt like this really cool bookend
Yeah.
of, wow, like this was one of our first ones when we didn't even know what in the world we were doing, but it's all come back around, and we
Yeah.
have kind of reestablished a relationship with her. So
that's awesome.
really cool.
Well, now hit us with the funny. I know you've got a few.
the funny.
So
Well, I know
come
you
on.
had one you were going to share.
Yeah, there was one. I was just thinking about some funny things that have happened over the years. We've done many retreats, many retreat trips to many different locations. But there was one venue we went to, and we always have this big game that we do in the last night of the retreat. It's like a big scavenger hunt game. But there's some element of tag involved. You got to
Right.
tag somebody
Yeah.
or catch them or do whatever. And we, one of our other volunteers who was working with us, I'll just go ahead and say it. It was Ray Mead. Ray Mead had the idea that we would throw
I'm gonna blame it
eggs
on
at
Ray.
them. We would if you get hit with an egg, then you're out.
Wow.
Kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it was great.
Yeah.
Because we were beaming these kids with eggs. But what was really funny is the eggs wouldn't always break. Not because they were hard boiled. It was just they wouldn't break. So it was like we were just beaming these kids with stones, just with rocks. And they were all bruised and welted and just had a blast. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
No lawsuits came out
No
of it.
lawsuits came out.
No
Nope.
lawsuits.
It was good. Everybody had fun and everybody came home safe. It was no big deal. Yeah.
I have heard many stories of those evenings in the dark, running around.
Lots of
playing
running around
those
in the
games.
dark stories.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've used Pine Creek, up in Gore for many years now, and it's got a steep incline. It's a bit of an elevation change, and when it's dark and you're running around, you get some skinned knees and elbows for sure.
Yeah. Suzanne, what hits you as like a crazy moment in
Yeah,
your
I
youth
had a
ministry?
couple things that came to mind. One, I'll tell this one on behalf of the McNutt family. Dennis, our pastor down at FBC Shenandoah now, his oldest daughter, Selena, we had I think it was called, was that Fun on the Run? Is that what that was called? It was like where you drive around town and you do kind of a scavenger hunt thing. And one of the things was they had to quack at the ducks on Wilkins Lake at
over at Jim Barnett Park.
Go and quack at the ducks at Jim Barnett Park. And so I had a bunch of kids in the van. They all jump out. They run, and we're running up to the lake. And I just, out of the corner of my eye, I see Selena just running. It's dark. She's just running, and then she's gone. Like she has vaporized. We cannot find her anywhere. And then she pops up out of the water. She ran so far, she ran right into the lake and went completely submerged.
No
and this
awareness,
was
just in the dark.
No,
just
just in
running
the dark.
from
This was
land
like
to water.
February too. It was not warm
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
So we've laughed about that story
Yeah,
quite a
there
bit
were-
of the day that that Selena disappeared under
Yeah,
under
and there were no
Wilkins Lake.
bonus points for that. She
No,
didn't get
there
extra
were no
points
extra
for it.
points.
She was just wet for the rest of the night. So
Did they win the scavenger hunt at least?
I'm not sure if
yeah.
they won. Yeah,
They had the best
and then we
story, I
also
guess.
we talked about all the things that have been planted in our yard over the
Oh, yeah.
years. We would get pranked a few times.
we would get pranked quite a bit, and I used to just wrestle with this because like I said, I was in 9th grade. And so everything that's happened to us is just coming back to me for what
ultimate
I
prankster.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's things that I did to our youth pastor came back to us, sometimes tenfold. But yeah, lots of things would happen to our house.
We've had, of course, forks. You fork people's yard.
Okay.
Have you seen
Well-
this? Just plastic forks.
I can
Just a lot
imagine.
of plastic forks.
Sure, plastic
Hundreds-
forks.
hundreds
yeah.
of them.
Toilet paper is going to be the go-to.
Oh
right?
yeah, some
TP, plenty of TP.
Yeah, but we had one time we had a garden gnome who was shown as his backside. That was
yes.
once left. Yeah.
Good.
And hot dogs one time.
Yeah.
There were, I think it was the traditional forks, but with hot dogs. Everyone had hot dogs on it.
Wow.
All over the yard, yeah.
Charlie Spencer's diving board.
Yes.
Somebody took Charlie Spencer's diving board out of his pool.
I think they were replacing it or filling
it may have been an old diving board or it broke or something, but it was on our front porch.
On our front porch.
Yeah.
But then this is, I think, what the pièce de résistance, and I'm going to give credit to Lindsay Bronduin. Coslow, I think is her. Is that her name?
That sounds good.
Yeah. Lindsay Bronduin. They came, and Hope Hawkins, who actually now she's Hope Neal. She is co-led with me this year. She's Lindsay's sister, so she was in on this as a kid.
Yep.
They did all kinds of stuff. They put signs all over the yard. They TP'd the cars, I think, and stuff like that. But she had gotten FBC stationery and typed up a whole letter that this was on behalf of Mark Carey. She forged his signature and even signed it from one clay pot to another, which was his kind of standard closing at that time.
Wow.
So we came home, saw all of this, and the letter like this is on the door. And I have to think for at least a second, was Mark Carey involved in this in some way?
Yeah.
He was not. He was not involved. His signature was forged. But I still have that letter because I thought, I told Lindsay, I said, that's next level. That's next level right there.
Yeah. Wow. That's ultimate like scam artist stuff right there. You know,
she was talented.
Just take an identity theft and just plop down Mark Carey's face on it and say he did it all. Well, now you guys can prank other people because
that's right.
You're retiring. So what does that look like for you after all these stories and after all these years? What is God doing in your lives to lead you to this point?
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think about, and it's been an emotional second semester for us. There have been moments where, we had the last small group at our house, we had the last small group off-site, and we had the last large group, and those things are pretty emotional. But it's just amazing to think about over the years, all the people that we got to work with, the other volunteers and leaders who are working with us. Like Chris Ryder has been with us almost 25
he's
years.
He's at 24, I think. So shout out to Chris Ryder also. Yeah.
But, just thinking about all the people who've been involved and then ushering in a younger generation to kind of take over. But this transition is definitely going to be weird, I think, next semester when we have our Wednesday nights kind of free. But we know we're still going to be in ministry.
It's time, and it's a prayerful decision. We kind of did the math a couple years ago and realized that Hallie would be graduating the year that we were at 25.
Yep.
And we just thought, well, that feels like a good kind of solid stopping point. And just prayed through that and just seemed like that was good timing. And we'll still be around. We'll still be, showing up to things. And but as far as ministry next, we're going to take a little break.
I think that's well deserved.
Take a little sabbatical
it's
and
acceptable.
Then just see what God has for us. But we'll be serving in the local church in FBC forever.
Sure.
That's no doubt. So.
Yeah. Well, on behalf of the church and all the student ministry leadership and everybody, thank you, because well-deserved break, but job well done of 25 years of ministering to students and kids. And again, to me, it shows just a modeling and example of what our mission statement is all about here, core values, and how we're called to prepare and deploy with generations in mind. And so you're preparing leaders, you're passing the torch, all the many things that are right there in what I know the elders are calling all of us to replicate. So here's an example, everybody. Never perfect, but always just keep pursuing and doing what God leads you to do. So
God is good. He's been amazing through it all, for sure. Glory to God.
It's been a blessing to our family, for sure.
Well, and Caleb is living proof. Again, he's not perfect either, but you know what? He looks okay. So,
well, and honestly, all four of our kids are walking with the Lord right now by God's grace.
Yeah.
And sometimes parents will ask us what would, just even as you
what's the magical formula?
What's the formula? Yeah. And there is no formula, but if there's one thing that I can say that I've seen consistently with families whose kids do well is that they served. They serve together in some way, not just youth ministry, although, thumbs up for that, but serving together in some way is the closest correlation I have seen, really, to kids continuing to live their faith.
Good tip. Well, thank you guys for being here. For all of you guys watching and listening, feel free to share your thoughts, your notes. You can go to fbcva.org/podcast to do that. So you can share your thanks to them or any other kind of questions. You have your gift. I do need to share this story. There's a Frisbee golf story involved, right? Where you
have a story to share with me?
Well, do you have a story that happened to you? Something happened to you while playing Frisbee golf? I'm going to interrupt and just allow that to happen.
A lot of things happened to him while playing.
Okay, not anything in particular.
Okay, I'll let that go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I have enjoyed disc golf for sure. It's been a big part of what our last 4 years as a family. So this is an incredible gift that Caleb has gifted us.
Beautiful.
That's fantastic.
Love it. All right. I just had to put a pause there and
yeah,
allow you to share a story if you wanted to. So good. Well, so for all the rest of you guys watching and listening, sorry for that little pause there. But there are other podcasts here at the church that we put on. So it's Sermon Spotlight, which is hosted by me or Caleb or a few other people as well every single Tuesday. You've got Global Church podcast. So check out what God is doing around the world and just, again, continue to use these opportunities to grow, listening to what God is doing in the life of our church through families like the Pearsons. So thank you so much once again for watching, listening, and until we chat again, let's let Christ be the focus of our lives each and every day.